Hello and welcome. With this episode, I'm going to review commercial real estate leases. This is an important topic for both prospective tenants and landlords. I'm Ron Pieper. I am the principal real estate broker for Veteran Realty located here in Virginia. So, commercial real estate leases. There isn't just one type. There are multiple. And why is it important to know this? Because with multiple types of leases comes multiple opportunities and also possibly multiple risks. A lease is a legally binding contract. It lays out terms and conditions for both tenants and landlords. And you already get that, I know. Yet please know this. Many terms and conditions are negotiable. And rent can be formed in various ways too. And that seems pretty important, doesn't it? Certainly important to understand. Let's review three types of leases. The first is the net lease. With a net lease, rent is broken down into a base rent payment, and a net rent payment. Base rent essentially gives a tenant access to use the space. The net rent covers specifically identified expenses like the landlord's property insurance, property taxes, maintenance, common area services, and things like that. So, with a net lease, you see how the rent money is being used. And that can ease negotiations for services and their costs and in delineating them in the lease. In my experience, at least where I work, a vast majority of leases are net leases. The next lease I'll cover is the gross lease. As the name suggests, with a gross lease, there is one comprehensive inclusive rent payment noted in the lease. The rent payment includes everything that the landlord and the tenant agreed to include. Another lease you may encounter, although admittedly not very often, is the profit lease. With a profit lease, the tenant pays a base rent, which is similar to what I mentioned for the net lease, and the tenant also pays a portion of their business's profits to the landlord. That portion is typically identified as a percentage, again, negotiable and documented in the lease accordingly. Now, regardless of the type of lease, the aggregate amount of rent may not vary much. Landlords are in business where the product for their customers is their real estate, and their customers are tenants. Landlords already have some dollar figure identified up here in their head that they expect to receive as rent, regardless of the type of lease they use. The difference, as I showed, is really in how that rent payment is identified in the lease. Beyond the rent, consider what you want and don't want in your landlord-tenant relationship when you're starting to think about how to negotiate terms and conditions in your lease. This is where you negotiate and write the lease accordingly. Consider things like a description of current and future business operations. This is so important. Tenants should describe their business operations so they have documented landlord permission to do what they want to do. And it helps with forming insurance policies and processing potential claims. Consider noting the services to be provided by the landlord. Pardon me. The responsibilities of the tenants. Think about documenting the duration of the lease and conditions for termination and renewal. And actually, don't just think about that one. Please have that one in your leases. That's critically important. Note periodic changes to rent, if any. The extent to which tenants can modify the space. And I'm referring to build-outs, equipment installation of signage, and that type of thing. Identify who incurs the costs for these services and the maintenance and renovations, not just who's going to do them. Because do doesn't mean pay for them necessarily. Identify reserved and labeled parking spaces, so look on the outside of the building as well as the inside. Clearly state that the tenants are required to comply with association rules. For example, there may be a condo association or a similar construct with a third-party property manager for office buildings. A lease defines the contractual relationship between landlords and tenants, so it should be quite detailed. Consider whatever is important to you and to your business or to your property. Okay. Thank you for taking time to listen to this presentation, and I hope the information I provided is going to help you somehow. I wish you well. Cheers.